This is the Ultraboost 5X. It's got an updated boost compound, more foam in the forefoot, and yet it's a lot lighter. All while still providing that incredibly comfortable prime knit upper. So is the Ultraboost back as a running shoe again? It's time to lace up the Ultraboost 5X and take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I'm going to talk to you guys all about the Ultraboost 5X. But before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Adidas sent to me for the purpose of review, so I didn't have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Ultraboost 5X, and let's start with the specs. This is a 31 millimeter stack height shoe with a 10 millimeter drop, giving us 21 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. And this midsole is made out of Adidas's new Light Boost material. We saw it initially in the Ultraboost Light that came out last year, and this year the regular Ultraboost gets the Light Boost treatment. On the outsole, you can see we have Continental rubber with some hole cut out basically to help shed some weight. And it also gives us a nice view into the torsion system here, which has changed over the years. And this year we've got kind of this center oval with spokes shooting out from the center in order to prevent the shoe from getting too twisty as your foot hits the ground. Moving to the upper, that's where we have that wonderful prime knit. I feel like prime knit is the best of the knit materials that we see in the running world, and it's fantastic here. I have the Ultraboost 5X, which is different than the Ultraboost 5, which has this cage on the outside, and that's really the only difference between these two shoes. So the regular Ultraboost 5 has more of a plastic structure. Not only are the eyelets having this plastic part for the laces to connect through, but those plastic eyelets connect to these Adidas logo on both the lateral and medial sides of the shoe. I think the whole intent here is to give a little bit more structure to the lacing system. But for those of you who want to shed that weight and don't need so much structure because you just want to feel the knit goodness, there is the 5X, which is what I've been running in so far. And it has that same plastic eyelet structure at the top, but then that is sewn in to the tongue area of the foot, and these three stripes are overlays rather than larger chunky plastic structures. And then in the back we have a little bit more padding, but I had to say that the Ultraboost and the upholstering that they've done in the back of these shoes has always been quite fantastic. It feels really nice to the hand and it feels really great on your foot as well. And they're able to do a lot more in terms of providing comfort without adding that much more puffiness, which is what we commonly see in a lot of other shoes that are kind of in this similar space. So it's really comfortable, really luxurious feeling without having too many sweat sponges back here. And then in terms of structure and support, we have the outer heel clip that we've seen in a lot of prior generations of Ultraboost. It's had some kind of variation over the years, but it's kind of had this similar design and concept where we have plastic kind of like wings on each side of the heel. And this heel cup actually extends really far all the way around the perimeter of the shoe, basically from underneath the center of your foot all the way back and around to the other center on the other side of your foot. And altogether, these creature comforts do come in at the heavier side. While it's much lighter than it's been in years past, this year's Ultraboost 5X comes in at 9.7 ounces or 275 grams. Now that we've talked about what the shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what it's like on foot. I'll have to say that the Ultraboost 5X is the first Ultraboost in a long time that brings me back to the earlier versions of Ultraboost that I really enjoyed running in. And primarily, I think the biggest change that they made from the last couple of iterations of Ultraboost to this one is the change that I've been asking them to make for years now. And that's from taking a lot of the bulbous decorative boost that they've been throwing on the back heel of the Ultraboost in previous years, and they've shoved it more towards the forefoot, which is where I want to feel the boost, underneath the pads of my feet, where my feet hit the ground as I'm running. That's the area where I want to feel the boost the most, and I feel like that's where they've added so much more of it back. Now, the light boost material that they're using in here is definitely different than the original boost that I remember from years ago, or at least it's different than my memory of the boost from years ago. And it definitely absorbs impact well, and it has a nice amount of rebound. It's not overly mushy, but it doesn't have the dynamic feel to it like the Ultraboost Parlay that I ran in had, where I felt like that shoe squished quite a bit, but then it also gave me a lot back. Now, that shoe, if I remember correctly, did end up being a little bit on the mushy side. So while it compressed a lot, the amount it gave back wasn't quite as much as, say, like a Super Foam, for example. But it overall gave me the sense of a shoe that is going to be very comfortable as a max cushion shoe to take for easy runs and also for some laid back long runs as well. The boost that's in the Ultraboost 5X, that light boost material, it is a lot less mushy than the boost that I remember from years ago, but it's also not quite as peppy as I would want. So I feel like there's a trade there that I'm not necessarily sure that I love for the Ultraboost. Yes, it is a little bit less mushy, which is a good thing, but it's not exactly a peppy shoe, which is what I would expect to be the trade-off for making a shoe less soft. So it feels like it's kind of in a middle ground where the shoe feels like it's definitely an improvement over the past couple of years, but I feel like there's something about it that's a little bit underwhelming, something about it that's missing. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy the shoe. I did enjoy the shoe quite a bit for my easy runs, but that's pretty much all I enjoyed it for. Easy paces, a little bit of recovery paces, but I also didn't get a sense that it was like the most luxurious of an experience, which is kind of what I remember from those earliest versions of Ultraboost that I ran in. I do think that my bigger, taller friends though are going to really enjoy though the fact that this foam is a little bit firmer than Boost has been in the past because of the way that their feet and their bodies are going to interact with the foam slightly different than mine. Next, let's talk about where the Ultraboost 5X fits within the broader Adidas lineup. Now, the way that Adidas kind of organizes their shoes is that they have 5 categories of shoe. One of those categories is trail shoes, and then another category of shoes is race day shoes, and those are the shoes that have the word Adizero in the prefix. And then the other 3 categories of shoes that they have are everyday shoes, and that's going to be stuff like the Adistar and the Supernova Rise. Then they have smooth as a category of shoes, and that's everything that has a 3D printed midsole in it, the 4D shoes. And then you have Boost. Boost sits pretty much in a category unto itself. Each of those categories of shoes is going to deliver a different type of experience depending on the kinds of running that you're doing and the kind of experience that you're looking for. But if you're looking at the Ultraboost 5 or the 5X and wondering how do you build a rotation around that, you kind of have to pick and choose from a couple of the different categories. So if the Ultraboost 5 or 5X is the daily trainer, then I think the race shoe that you're probably going to really enjoy is the Adizero Adios Pro 3. It's got the Premier racing foam in it. It's super lightweight. It's got the carbon energy rods. That's going to sit over here. And for someone that is enjoying the Ultraboost 5 or 5X as their daily training shoe, I feel like the shoe that sits in between these two shoes, your daily trainer and your race day shoe, is probably going to be the Boston 12. It has some race day foam in it, has some daily training foam in it, and it does have energy rods in them, but they're not fully carbon. And then I think this is probably going to be a really nice lineup, a triplet of shoes for most people if you're really liking the Ultraboost as your main running shoe. But if you do want to add a fourth, Adidas has something for that as well, and that's the Prime X2 Strong. This, I think, is going to fit a little bit over on this side. While it does have race day foams in it and 2 layers of carbon fiber plates, it's really designed more of as a long run / long run workout kind of shoe. So something where if you want something with a little bit more pep than the Ultraboost has to make your long runs a bit more interesting, or if you've got long runs with a lot of workouts built into them, the Prime X Strong 2 is probably going to be the shoe that you want to add to this end of the lineup. And I feel like this is one way that the Adidas 5X could fit within a broader Adidas lineup. Now let's wrap up the video by talking about the buying guide, and we'll also talk about some alternatives that you might want to consider. The Ultraboost 5X is available now if you are an Adi Club member, which is a free thing to sign up for. You can get early access to shoes. It's available now at $180. And I feel like for what you're getting, I feel like it's a lot of money to be paying. I think it's too much for what you're getting, frankly. But then again, I will have to note that the Ultraboost has always been, as long as I remember, has always been $180 since it came out in like 2016, 2017. So if you think about it that way, one of the things you could say about the Ultraboost is that it is the most inflation resistant shoe that is in running today. But let's take a look at some of the competition and see where $180 really stacks up. I think that the shoe that competes most squarely against the Ultraboost 5X is going to be from Saucony, and this is the Saucony Triumph RFG. Now, I'm talking about this shoe specifically because it uses Saucony Power Run Plus Bio, which is an eco-friendly foam, or at least an eco-friendly foam. This foam ends up being a little bit firmer of a material than we saw in the regular Power Run Plus, and that slight firmness reminds me a lot of the slight extra firmness relative to traditional Boost that we're seeing in the Ultraboost 5X. And I feel like the experiences that I'm getting at the end of the day in these two shoes is very similar, at least when it comes to the midsoles. Now, when it comes to the upper, the 5X just blows the Triumph 21 or the Triumph RFG out of the water. It's just so much more comfortable. It looks so much better as well. I definitely prefer being in the Ultraboost 5X. But when it comes to running, I feel like these two foams are almost identical, with the exception being that I think it maybe be the shaping and not necessarily the foam composition itself, but the shaping of the shoe makes the Triumph RFG just a little bit better at picking up the pace. And you can get that shoe at retail now of $160. Now, the next shoe that I want to compare against the Ultraboost 5X comes from On, and that's the Cloudmonster 2. Now, there's a Cloudmonster 2 and a Cloudmonster 2 Hyper. I'm specifically talking about the Cloudmonster 2 and the way that this shoe uses both Cloud Tech, or these holes that are in the shoe, to provide some extra squishiness in the midsole. And they also have a different foam insert in the forefoot to make it a little bit more responsive. And I feel like the overall net when you're looking at the Cloudmonster 2 is that you're getting a sensation that's very similar to kind of what you're feeling in the Ultraboost 5X. Now, they're not exactly the same, but there are a lot of similarities between these two shoes. They're both kind of in the daily trainer space, kind of max cushion space. They're both very comfortable to run in and also to wear, and they are also quite stylish as well, although they are very different aesthetics that each one is going for. And I think that's really going to be the deciding factor between these two shoes for most people, because they both come in at $180. So depending on whether you want to look for that knit upper sock-like booty construction in a running shoe, then you would go with the Ultraboost 5X. Or if you're looking for something more in the Swiss engineered kind of vibe, you're going to be going with the On. So is the Ultraboost a running shoe again? I would say definitely yes, but at the same time, I feel like this is a bit of a transitional shoe. Something to take us from the running inspired casual shoes of the Ultraboost 19, 20, and 21 to whatever Ultraboost is ultimately going to become, and hopefully it becomes something that runners are absolutely going to go crazy for. But in the meantime, we've got the Ultraboost 5X, which is definitely improvement, definitely a step in the right direction. And to me, it signals a commitment that the Ultraboost is going to be about running again. And for that, I'm excited. So if you have any other questions about the Ultraboost 5X, leave them in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to talk to you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?